This is a special Emitape recording, number 1 of the series. And we've designed it to show you by example how to adjust the controls of your recorder and check its mechanism to make sure that you're getting the quality right. Now, listening correctly is the first step to good recording, whether it's to the radio or to live music or the voice of someone you're just about to put on tape. So before we go any further, please see that the loudspeaker is facing you as you listen, and move the volume control up and down during this guitar solo until it sounds as near as you can tell at its natural loudness. Good. Now, the tone controls on tape recorders work only on playback, but they're still very important. You may have separate controls for bass and treble, or just a single tone control. That cuts the treble frequencies. Here's some more music during which you should adjust the tone until the double bass and the brushes of the drums are equally balanced. Well, you're now listening at the level and the tone settings that we had in mind when we recorded the rest of the illustrations. First, and most important, we come to setting the volume for recording. Failure to get this right is the commonest cause of poor quality recordings. I know that your machine most likely has a magic eye or a meter to help you get the level right, but these are apt to be a bit misleading until you get to know them. Here are a couple of exaggerated examples to warn you of the dangers of over-recording and under-recording. First, recording with the level too high. Well, that kind of distortion means that the amplifier is being overloaded, or perhaps the tape head is, or the tape, or all three. You can avoid it by keeping the recording level down, but it's nearly as bad to record at too low a level, like this. Of course, we've dodged the distortion this time, but the volume needs to be turned up further on playback, and that means that the noise, which is always somewhere in the background, begins to be a nuisance. Well, so much for the controls. Now let's see if the tape is being pulled past the heads correctly. Any fluctuations in the tape speed will affect the pitch of music, and it'll show up worst on long sustained notes. If a wobble occurs at 20 times per second or less, it's called a wow. And here's a pretty bad example. A first cousin of wow is flutter, where the speed oscillates more rapidly. Tape recorders always have some degree of wow and flutter, since the drive rollers can't be 100% perfect. But it should be so slight that you can't detect it, even on steady notes. And if you can hear the pitch changing, it's possible that the capstan and roller on your machine need cleaning, or there's something obstructing the path of the tape, or maybe the take-up spool is badly bent. Another trouble associated with the tape drive is cross-tracking, in which the tape rides up slightly during playback and we can hear the lower track faintly in the background. This trouble can usually be cured by checking that the tape guides and the pressure pads are properly in line with the heads. The tape heads themselves have to be looked after most carefully. First of all, they have to be kept clean, or else you get a base-heavy kind of quality due to dust piling up. And secondly, there's always a danger that the heads may become magnetized and add noise to every tape they come in contact with.
Every day, 250,000 men, women and children are in the air, passengers in airliners operated by the airlines of the world, while many more...
Thirdly, the head may shift off the vertical, so that it scans the tape at a slight angle. This causes all the top frequencies to be lost, and we can demonstrate it best by playing you a recording during which we rock the head from side to side. Next to the heads come the pressure pads, and if your machine has these spring-loaded felt pads, it's very important that they hold the tape close to the heads. Don't let the pressure pads become too tight though, for this can cause flutter or a noise we call tape squeal. Now let's turn to the tape itself. And the first thing to guard against here is what we call print-through.
Allowing time for climbing and descending from 80,000 feet, it would then be 2:15 p.m. New York time, not too late for lunch, and 2 hours before sunset. 45 minutes for refueling, then on again to...
Yes, the faint echoes that you heard were due to each layer of tape magnetizing its next-door neighbor on the spool. Using good quality tape, such as Emitape, this trouble will hardly ever arise, but it can be aggravated by over-recording or storing the tape in too high a temperature or near stray magnetic fields. It's easily distinguishable from cross-tracking, which we demonstrated earlier, and both these faults are different from the next one on our list, which is imperfect erasing. Here's an example.
Is also a big question mark with atomic-powered aeroplanes. There is little doubt that fleets of nuclear-powered bombers able to fly around the world 3 or 4 times non-stop.
In this case, the unwanted background is of a previous recording, and it's the right way around. Incomplete erasing can be due to a fault in the electronics, but more often it's simply that the erase head needs cleaning, or possibly the earlier program was heavily over-recorded. Another fault, met on inferior tapes, is known as dropout, and it's due to tiny pinholes in the magnetic coating. Finally, we have a tape fault which is not so much the fault of the tape as a mistake on the part of the user. Here's how it sounds. Yes, you've probably guessed what the trouble was. The tape had been put in the recorder back to front. But if that last example sounded really muffled, as it was meant to, then you will have appreciated our examples of the faults to avoid in getting the quality right. You'll find many ideas for increasing your enjoyment from recording on other tapes in this Emitape series.